Well, here we are once again, Pat. How does it feel to be united with the occupied part of the country?
It's a welcome
Do you feel
distraction.
a sense of
Yes.
honor?
A sense of honor. It's great to unite Ireland, even if it's from the occupied part to the unoccupied part.
Could you get would you be entitled to a peerage if you were offered it, or like Lord Frost there, or maybe even just a simple knight?
No, it would be an honorary title. But I always remember Eddie McIntyre, the leader of the Nationalist Party. Apparently, a parrot chick arrived up at Eddie's door and says, "Mr. McIntyre, I'm here on behalf of Her Majesty's government to offer you something like the Empire Medal." And Eddie says, "What empire?" and closed the door.
Oh, dear. Yeah, they need to be a bit more careful. In fact, there's you ever hear Benjamin Zephaniah? You know that guy with the dreadlocks?
The poet.
You ever hear him talking about him being offered an OBE or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
He was terrific.
Scathing.
Scathing. It's the best put down I've ever seen. Best put down I've ever seen. Okay, we got a number of little things to talk about here. I guess we'll talk about the serious one first, and that is the frost is gone. Not the snow,
the frost
is gone. Apparently he went because of the way he talked about the direction of travel of the government. He's looking for lower taxation. He doesn't think we've got sufficiently low taxation, and he wants freedom from the EU. No European Court of Justice or anything meddling in the North's affairs. And yet, here's the man who was Mr. Protocol. He was the one who bargained for it and saw it into being, and now he's saying it's a terrible imposition. When he made his resignation speech, didn't mention the protocol at all.
No.
Which I don't think that plays the unionists much. What was your reaction to him going, Pat?
Jude, I firmly believe. I think it's this thing about COVID is a total false flag. I think the man he negotiated the deal with the EU, signed off on it. He's over and back all the time. I think he's totally between a rock and a hard place, no matter what way he goes and all that. And what he's referred to as Boris's Brexit brain. He's the guy who has got in charge of all that, or has got the details and so on. So I think there are plenty of other people in the Tory party who might have ups and downs about new tax laws and about COVID, the imposition of COVID guidelines, but nobody has resigned. I think it's a total ruse on his part. I think really is he knows he can't win this argument with the EU. The protocol is here to stay. The agreement is here to stay, and he doesn't want to be the one to surrender. And I think ideologically he probably has a thing about the EU. He worked in Europe and all the rest, and he that Tory guy, Mark Francois. He gave the game away one night, and he says, "No German's going to tell me what to do."
Yeah, well, that's essentially what the line is. It's the old hangover from the Who Won the War, anyway. Has it damaged Johnson? Do you think?
I think so, Jude. I think so. Jude, look at last week. He started off sort of like a climax. He loses 100 MPs in a vote. Then the whole COVID thing blew up on his face. What else? There was a couple of other things. And then on Saturday night, it doesn't matter. On Saturday night, then Frost resigns. Like last week, Boris there was just one calamity to another. It was just disaster.
Mm-hmm. You wonder what the next one is going to be, because they've been coming out on almost a daily basis. But I've been looking up, he's being succeeded, Frost, by this lovely woman, Liz Truss, who looks like a little girlish blonde, really, as she skips along Downing Street towards number 10. But I've checked up on her on Wikipedia, and there's some interesting things about her, Her father was a professor of pure maths.
Yeah.
And her mother was a teacher, and she was a CND campaigner.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Well, how do you go from CND to the most right-wing?
Well, that's a good question. She says that both her parents were to the left, would have been in politics to the left of the Labour Party.
Yeah.
You might say that wouldn't have been hard, but at the same time, it's clearly considerably more to the left than than most of the other people in the cabinet. But if a parent's what else did she say? She said oh yes, she wrote a book called while she was at Oxford, I think it was, Oxford, she was a president of the Oxford, not Conservatives, but Lib Dems.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? So she had leftist parents. She was a Lib Dem activist while at university, and she's wound up being Conservative cabinet minister. She says she wrote a book called, with a great title, Britannia Unchained. A good one. And in it, she has a sentence: once they enter the workplace, the British are among the worst idlers in the world.
I remember reading that. By the way, I'm out of speed. I was away a good part today. I didn't realize she had been lined up to replace. I remember reading that sentence some time ago, and well, that shows a fairly, what would you say, right-wing attitude towards working people, doesn't it?
Oh, very. She's very, in education, she's scathing, She said, like, her father was a pure maths professor, which is very hard stuff. I think I can't even do the times tables, but she is very scathing about the way comprehensive schools, she says, are being missold easy, low-value subjects in order to boost their pass rate. And she gives out about the number of pupils at comprehensive schools who study media studies in A-level compared to private schools. You see, media studies, isn't it interesting, Pat? Media studies has always been the kind of whipping boy of the right-wing Tory. They detest it. Would you be able to figure a reason why that would be?
Because someone when you got to media studies. By the way, my master's degree's in media studies.
You were saying
thanks very much, Les. But here's the thing, Jude. I defy anybody. I spent 18 months doing that master's degree, and Jude, it was highly, highly intellectual. But a lot of it is left-wing theory, and a lot of it is Marxism and about how power and responsibility work. What is somebody described the media as power without responsibility, like a harlot. In other words, they have the power, but they don't have the responsibility. And we'll not go too much further with that analogy. But anyway, Jude, I remember reading a lot of that stuff, and they suggest that it's easy going. But Jude, I think a lot of the right-wing Tories don't like anything that exposes. Tory is basically plays on prejudices and on populism. Like the Tory messages, those guys on the dole are scammers, lazy bollockses, and they don't want to work, and they're scamming you, and so on. But they don't tell us what was it? I'll drop this, but there were something like 3,000 people in one part of Britain doing investigations to dole fraud, where there was apparently about 0.1% dole fraud proven. And what he called, there was 300 for the entire part of, I think, England, doing corporate fraud, where there was literally billions being frauded. So but hey, it keeps the Boris and the Etonians in power to tell the working class, hey, you're getting scammed by the Polish worker down the road.
That's right. She's against calculators too, She thinks people should be doing more mental arithmetic. Yeah. That's like, in my view, that's like saying nobody should have an electric mower.
Yeah, and remember somebody, one of Joan Burton, I think it was, in the Republic, said, I notice a lot of these people have very good phones. You're not supposed to have a smartphone. The arrogance of that sort of stuff. But another one thing, just at one point, I don't think I've made it before. I'll not name them because it will embarrass them. Like I don't know. I'd see at national school. I didn't pay attention. I looked out the window. I probably had someone like nowadays would call ADD. But they put me sitting beside this guy, and I'll say his name is Johnny. They put me sitting beside Johnny. Johnny was extremely bright, and Johnny said to him, "Come on, Pat. Here, look. Here's how you do this." See, by the end of that year, I'm not saying I was as bright as Johnny or as good as Johnny, but I had come from way bottom of the class towards the top end of the class. I totally believe in comprehensive education. I think people, if you can see other people that you can do the same as them. See these elitist STEAM schools where the hot houses where all the rest, I don't agree with them at all.
Yeah, yeah. I think the big mistake that the likes of Truss and others would make is that they see in a classroom learning only coming from the teacher to the pupils. And I've always believed the example you give is an exact example of what I'm thinking of. Across from pupil to pupil is far more effective learning than just singing. I mean, for a start, you get a hell of a lot more of it going on at the same time than just one thing coming from the teacher. And kids, if you listen to a kid explaining something to another kid, they don't piss around, They just, say, look, pay attention. I've told you that. And they get through very quickly. And the kid who's being having the thing explained doesn't feel threatened because it's one of his mates, It's she also, this Truss woman, she's more for free market, and she's wants fewer employment laws. So you can see what way things are going. She is seen as a possible successor to Johnson,
Yeah, they're looking for a more right-wing.
Well, they'll have no bother. They'll have no bother, Pat. That woman's more right-wing, I'm sure, than Johnson. By the way, her married name is O'Leary.
Huh?
Her married name is O'Leary. I don't think it's Michael O'Leary now.
Well, someone should know the thing that always worried me when I went to America was most of the most bigoted, racist people I met in America happen to have Irish names. And if you watch Fox News these days, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, and you keep going yourself.
Yeah. She lived in Canada for a year, and she felt that the competitive attitude in schooling was so much better than the trendy education that comprehensive kids were getting in England. And she got in Leeds. Rubbish. Yeah. Totally.
Another
rubbish.
Elitist, whatever.
Anyway, okay, let's move to the seasonal, and we're going to keep this tight now another 5 minutes. So enjoy it, viewer, while you can. Christmas trees. 600,000 Christmas trees have been sold in the south this year, even more than usual. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Pat?
I think, Jude, I really genuinely believe that this year people are so, I have to use the term, pissed off. I think people want a bit of seasonal cheer. I've seen, I was in Derry the other day, this Saturday, this is Monday, and I drove past, there's some houses fabulously done, but we're talking about the south, 600. I think this year people have gone really out on a limb. They want a bit of Christmas cheer. Dude, everybody is so, I think this is dragging on, even the most, what would you say? What's the right word? People with patience. What's that term, Jude? I don't even know the right term anymore. People have just got worn out with this. Even like people, look, Jude, people like me and you're sitting up in your house and I'm sitting here and we're retired and we can do a bit of crack and so on. But can you imagine when you have, say you're in your 40s or 50s and you have 3 or 4 kids and you notice your 15-year-old daughter hasn't been outside the door for whatever, and you can't let them go to a disco and you can't do, like, it starts to wear a bit, and now it looks like this Omicron version is what it's already the dominant strain, and people are going, like, Jude, what do we do?
But it's pretty rough, all right, because it does, they do seem to be kicking the can down the road in terms of how long this damn thing's going to last. There is no way, there's no light on the horizon, and that's the truth. Boris used to talk about, the cavalry would come over the hill with the vaccine. We've had vaccines in place now for about a year. And we're still no nearer to where we,
the virus seems to be able to outwit the vaccine
every time.
Every time.
But listen, what about Christmas trees? I'm a bit puzzled by this. Maybe you understand it, Pat. They say that this is good, the fact that there are 600,000 Christmas trees being sold. But does that not, the whole environment thing? I mean, you're cutting down 600,000 trees.
No. Apparently, they replace every year. They replace what they sell. It's self, what we call that term?
Self-propagating,
self-propagating. But they however many they sell, I think they just move them forward. They do them, and it's apparently self-sustaining.
That's very interesting. Did you have a Christmas tree when you were young?
Yep.
Well, every year.
Well, as far as Jude, no, maybe not in the early years. Jude, we were like so many people. I don't, like I've said it to you before. Sometimes when I go up to my grandkids' house, I'm saying they could sell Smith's toys, some of their toys, rather than go to Smith's and get toys from them. There's that many toys. But when we were wee, no, I remember, when I was very young, maybe up to 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, I don't think we had a Christmas tree. There were 7 kids. my mother didn't work. My father worked as an ESB linesman, and I would say every penny counted.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any Christmas presents or anything like that.
Well,
It
I
was
don't
only
think
in later years that I remember a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I don't think that the Christmas tree was an Irish tradition as much in the same way as it is in England. I think I can only remember 1 year, that we had a Christmas tree in all my childhood. And my memory is my mother giving out stink about the way the bloody, the little bits would fall off.
Pine leaves.
Pine needles onto the carpet. And that was the end of it. We never saw it. What's more,
so excuse me, you said carpets? You said, did you say fell on the carpets? Oh, excuse me.
I suppose you had bare earthen floors.
Sure, we used to have to get a brush to the flat stones.
You sound a bit like my father. He used to compete with my mother in maintaining they were really poor, and what their upbringing was, and so on. But I don't know. I just think the Christmas tree is a wee bit. I think it's a German tradition for a start.
No, I think it's a German tradition that was Hollywoodized.
Aye. Disneyfied.
Wasn't Santa Claus originally green, and it was Walt Disney made him red, as far as I remember.
Aye, I think Coca-Cola were heavily in there as well.
They
helped to popularize the Santa Claus.
It was Walt Disney or Coca-Cola, but I think they turned it. I think the whole Christmas was a sort of German thing, and I think he wore green.
Yeah,
and then
that's
Coca-Cola.
right. I'm almost certain you're right. But he's changed now, so he's red. He's wearing the Tyrone colours, actually. Yeah, you could say, without much bother. But listen, how will you spend Christmas? Did you enjoy? Well, all right, sorry. Let me ask you a first question, very quickly. Did you enjoy Christmas as a kid? Christmas Day?
Absolutely. We were 7 of us, and we were all very close. And I remember some of the nicest memories I have actually are Christmas time. My mother and father were alive, and and whatever, and we'd sit around the Christmas dinner, and we would all be there. And it was actually, and the fire would be on, and my mother. I didn't realize I was very unfair to me. I didn't realize what a great cook she really was. She'd, rather than turkey and ham, she used to go for this sort of roast beef, but she'd cook it for maybe 12, 14 hours. And there was so much of it, and she would have dessert, and she would have everything, and she would have a starter. And Jude, I don't know how she got it up the time to do it, but I know I have nothing but good memories of Christmas and childhood.
Yeah, I have to confess, I have fairly good memories of it too. Getting the Beano annual and stuff like this. But I also have a memory of it being a pretty boring day. You'd overeat, and the room would be very hot, and people would be lying around, and wanting to know what they're going to do next, and falling asleep in the chair. And the other thing was, you weren't supposed to go out. There was Protestant kids who lived across the fence from us, and as youngsters, we'd want to go out and find out what toys did they get from Santa and show ours. But you weren't allowed to, you had to stay at home because it would not be respect for your family life,
But you were brought up on a big farm, Collins. I was brought up on a council estate in Letterkenny. We were the
wasn't a big farm. Wasn't a big farm. We were extremely wealthy, of course, but it wasn't a big farm. It was only 50 acres.
We lived in a place called Ardcon. It was a lovely estate. It was really nice. It was a working class estate, but they were great people. They were the salt of the earth. And on Christmas Day, everybody would out in the street, and you'd be meeting, and you played cowboys and Indians, and you even played football if the weather was anyway half decent. And then your mother would call you in for Christmas dinner, and then you'd watch a film like Indiana Jones or a western with John Wayne way back in the day. God, I can't even remember. But and then of course as we got a wee bit older, I remember having a couple of beers with my dad. It was one of the nicest days ever spent.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. You're bringing a tear to me. Pat, just listening to you there.
I know, it's lovely. Hey, Jude, that some of the, I'm a very unusual Irish person. I had a happy childhood.
Pat, tell us this. What present are you hoping for this year?
Jude, I've already got it. There was a guy, I'll even name him, Mark Patterson. He works for BBC Radio 5. One day I met Mark, and he had this absolutely, as far as I could see, beautiful waistcoat on. And I said to him, "Hey, Mark, where'd you get that?" And he says, "Pat, I've got it in a wee shop down in Donegal." And then he's showing. And the wife, I come home and I said to my dear wife, and I said, Jesus, I saw Mark Patterson today, I was chatting to him, and I said, you're on the most beautiful waistcoat. She said, would you like one? I said, lovely. Now, Jude, I am not one of life's small people. So I'd say they had to go get sort of industrial amount of tweed.
You know, the elves were working overtime.
Yeah, Harland and Wolff did the design. But anyway, so that's what I'm getting for Christmas.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm getting. My children have a habit of sending me stuff. They send it through Amazon or whatever, and
yeah,
I don't know what it is, and so it arrives. Anything that arrives, we put it underneath the tree. We actually have had. We struggled for years, in the early years with the kids, and having a proper tree, a fresh tree every year. But it really was a pain. It was the pine needles and all that crap. And then you had to go and dump it and all the rest. So we threw in the towel about 10 years ago, and I've got an artificial tree, and it's so much easier.
Well, that's what we have now, in fairness, Jude.
So we just park the stuff underneath it. I'm kind of looking forward to it. And it's a different sort of Christmas, because normally our kids, some of them would be over, or we would go over to England and it'd be a really crowded house. But this year again, it'll be like, you remember Spitting Images, where they had John Major and his wife over Christmas dinner with peas and not talking, pushing their peas around. It's a nice Christmas day.
Yeah.
So that'll be me. But I all this is for the last, like the last word in this, Pat, because I know you'll do it well. Tell your Christmas joke about the guy. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll give you a hint. It's about the guy coming out with about.
Oh yeah. It was years ago.
Go for it, Pat.
What?
Go for it.
There was a guy went into the off license, and he says to the boy, he says, "Oh, give me 6 bottles of vodka." And the guy says, "Yeah," puts them up 6. He says, 6 bottles of that whiskey, that Irish whiskey with a Jameson. He says, 6 bottles of that. And then he says, "By the way, I need something for the wife." And he goes, "Creme de menthe, give me 2 bottles of that." And he says, "By the way, give me another 24. No, make it 48 cans of beer." And the boy says, "Jesus," he says, "Sure, if it wasn't for the children, would you bother?"
Pat, I've heard it before from you, but I still love it. I love it. You tell a good story. Okay. Nolik Honadich.
Nolik Honadich. So it'll be after Christmas, because I don't suppose anybody on Christmas Eve is going to be too interested in listening to us. So
no, they have no taste, of course, but that's their problem.
No taste, but
okay.
Jude, happy Christmas to you and Mrs. Collins.
And to you and to your lovely wife. Okay.